KTRS.
939, Big 550, KTRS. St. Louis Post-Dispatch. STLtoday.com has a story that is worth reading once, twice, three times to get the full context of what is going on. But as in regards to this August 2nd primary and the allegations surrounding the Petty Hubbard campaign and the fact that Bruce Franks Jr. won in the polls but lost when they used the absentee ballots. Post-Dispatch doing an ongoing investigation. One of the editors who worked on the piece written by Stephen Deere is Chris Ave. Chris, welcome back to Big 550 KTRS.
Hey, McGraw. Great to be here.
All right, so this was posted earlier this morning. Is that correct? Do I have that correct? Or was it late last night?
Yes, it went up about 6 o'clock this morning.
Okay, and it's pretty revealing. Clearly, you guys used a lot of legwork on all of this. Let's start with the legwork. You guys knocked on quite a number of doors, and it seems like quite a number of people were more than happy to talk exactly about how they went about their absentee voting or their lack of absentee voting.
Well, we talked to a lot of people, dozens of people, and the documents here, thousands of pages of documents. You know, the reporters organized them by stacks that spread across a nice chunk of one end of the newsroom. So it was an effort. I wouldn't say that voters were all happy to talk to us. A lot of voters just didn't feel like talking. But the thing that strikes me is that of the voters we talked to who agreed to talk, you know, we heard the same kind of story or a variation of the same kind of story over and over again. So you would think, you know, if this is a story about one voter who's not happy about how his or her absentee ballot was handled, well, that'd be one thing. I mean, but we have person after person saying, hey, you know, I'm not incapacitated. Hey, I wasn't sure that I didn't mean to sign up for an absentee ballot. You know, the application that you have to send in to get an absentee ballot. Apparently, many of these came in without the person whose name was on it even realizing what they had done. And then the many instances of where two applications for an absentee ballot for the same voter arrived at the election board. Why would that happen? In many cases, when we talk to people who had submitted duplicates, apparently their signature was on two of these forms, they said, you know, I only sent in one. I don't remember sending in two. So, you know, are they telling the truth? We don't know. But would this many voters tell the same lie? I find that unlikely.
One of the interesting things, there's many interesting things about this, and I've read it twice, and I'm reading it a third time just because there's so much information. The interesting story was, one of the things is that the St. Louis Circuit Court judge ruled that the St. Louis Election Board violated the law. What did the St. Louis Election Board do to violate, and what law?
Well, that ruling had to do with opening the records. Now, I want to be clear. The actual ballots, no one has seen those actual ballots. We haven't seen them. Attorneys haven't seen them. Those are held in a secret place, and they should be. No one should get to see who anyone voted for. That's not what we were after, though. What we were after, and what some of these attorneys, the attorneys of the losing candidate, were after, was the records associated with the absentee ballot process. That is, the application that a voter has to fill out to get an absentee ballot mailed to him or her, and then the envelope that voter would use to send his or her ballot into the election board. So those are the documents that we wanted. The election board's first response was, no, you can't have those. And, we challenged it. The attorney involved challenged it. And that's when the judge came out with a ruling saying, hey, you can't make these secret. These are public documents. This is illegal, what you're doing, and make them open. And to the board's credit, they almost immediately, within a day or two, made those records available to us.
Okay, and that's how then you use some of those to go knock on some of the doors of the people who were then the absentee ballots, and that's how we got some of the information, I'm assuming.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of shoe leather reporting,
Sure.
the old school.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Not just tweet about it, go and knock on doors and actually do some actual reporting. There's a concept for you. Hats off. But I mean, hats off to you guys, because you guys are the ones who are out doing this type of stuff. Penny Hubbard's people refuse to comment. You have quotes from their attorney saying that they didn't do anything wrong. But you've got stories from voters who said that Penny Hubbard and Rodney Hubbard went to their door asking for signatures.
Yes, that's what some voters told us, that the Hubbards personally, or campaign workers who said they were working for the Hubbard campaign, came to where they lived and talked about the need to sign up. Now, I have to say, a number of voters told us that they didn't quite ever understand that what they were being asked was to request and then fill out an absentee ballot. I don't know if that means, frankly, that the Hubbards didn't tell the truth, or if it means that the people didn't quite understand. That's not for me to say. Right. All we can do is report what the people said, and what they said was, I thought in a number of times the voter would tell our reporters, hey, I thought I was signing a petition, or I thought I was just verifying my address.
Is it true, Christopher, that an absentee ballot is only legitimate if it comes inside of a sealed envelope?
Well, that's a great question, and frankly, the state law is not clear on this point. I am not an attorney, so I can't be relied upon to interpret state law, but I will say this. When you read the law that governs absentee voting in Missouri, it's very clear. It says that among other things, it says, and I don't have it in front of me, but I'm paraphrasing, it says that the absentee ballot must be put in the envelope, and then the envelope must be submitted to the board. Now, why is that important? It's important because the only place no one signs his or her actual ballot. There is no identifier on a ballot, even an absentee ballot. The identifier is only on the envelope that it's supposed to come in. So there is no way to tell once the ballot if the ballot is submitted without an envelope, there's no way to ever tell whose vote that actually is.
Right.
So you think about that. That seems to be a loophole in the board's processes that would lead, it seems to us, open the possibility that someone might take advantage of it.
And a number of ballots showed up without envelopes?
Yes. A high number of ballots showed up without envelopes, which is somewhat disturbing, given that there is no opportunity now. It's impossible to research and figure out where those ballots came from. Right. I mean, there is no paper trail.
Is it true that as an absentee voter, the only person allowed to drop off an absentee ballot is a relative? And in this instance, you have stories of Rodney Hubbard dropping off stacks and stacks and stacks of absentee ballots.
Well, a couple of people did say that they recall, not in this election, but in prior elections, that they recall Rodney Hubbard Sr. And other people working for the Hubbard campaign coming in with a box, one of those postal boxes, with some number of absentee ballots, wanting to drop them off. That is, wanting the election board to take them and count them. And that appears to not be allowed under the law as we read it. It appears to say a couple of things. The actual form that you request an absentee ballot on, actually, it says each application must be mailed or faxed individually. So that's on the form. And then the law says, the only person who can drop off an absentee ballot is the voter, him or herself, or what they call a second-degree relative. And they list what relatives are allowed in the law itself. So problem with the board is, when anyone came in to vote in person, which you can do absentee voting in person until the day before the election. But when they came in, if there was apparently there was no proof that who it was, they never wrote down who it was that dropped off the ballot. So if someone dropped off someone else's ballot, perhaps they would be asked, hey, are you a relative? And if the person said, yeah, I am, that's it. Nothing else was done. So because of our investigation, I think this is interesting, because of our investigation, Joan Berger, who is the election board chairwoman, enacted a new policy yesterday when we were talking to her. She said, okay, from now on, we are going to stamp them with the date when they're received. We're going to make the person who drops them off print their name. We're going to ask them and have them sign as to what kind of relative they are.
Nothing like making up policy in the middle of an interview with a Post-Dispatch reporter.
Well, I mean, one might say that sounds like a good policy. It should have been in effect earlier. But anyway, it's in effect now.
Yeah. Christopher Ave, we are out of time. Continued good work on this. Great reporting. My hat's off to you and the team, and we look forward to more follow-ups throughout the coming weeks. Thanks.
Thanks so much, McGraw. Take care.
You got it. STLtoday.com, must read, just posted earlier this morning about their investigation into the absentee voting irregularities in the city. 9:50.